Hello, we're going to make some homemade meat sauce tonight with sausage and hamburger and onions and peppers and mushrooms and so on. So we're going to start by slicing and dicing our onions up and throwing them in to saute. So now that we're finishing up with that, we're going to throw this into the pan. The oil is relatively hot, and you might hear a little bit of a sizzle when we throw it in. We'll get that sauteing as quickly as we can, but just in oil, not butter, because we're making a sauce. I don't want to put butter in my sauce. So we start that and we saute in oil, and we just start getting the oil all over all of those onions. And while we're doing that, woo, those are strong. We're going to take a yellow pepper, because it's a little more colorful, and throw that into our sauce too. First I'm just going to make sure everything looks good on the inside. Probably use half of the pepper for this sauce. Not all of my family loves pepper. Now we'll put our peppers in, just a few of them, get them nice and small. We'll throw our peppers into the sauce, into the onions, and we'll turn the heat back up and try and brown them a little bit. Get them nice and flavorful, hopefully get a little bit sweeter that way. We're going to cut up our mushrooms and throw those in with the onions after the onions start to get clear. We want to make sure that the onions are partially cooked before we throw in our mushrooms, and then we just get all these mushrooms in there too. Okay, so our next thing is to add some Himalayan pink salt to this as it finishes sauteing, and throw in my mushrooms. In a little while we'll add a tiny bit of garlic right at the end. Put those in, stir them all up, and the mushrooms will lose some of their moisture in a couple minutes. And when they finally do, we'll keep cooking them on a medium-high heat until that moisture starts to burn off and all the mushrooms start to get brown. And at that point, we'll add a little bit of wine to clean off the bottom of the pan. And while we're waiting for that, I'm going to throw some sausage in and start cooking that up. There's some oil in the pan already, it's going to sizzle. I'm going to try and start that at a relatively high heat, doesn't matter too much right now, and chop it all up and get that in chunks. So we want to make sure it's browning, that the sausage is cooked all the way, not so that it's too hard, but some of the pieces will be a little crispy right now. We'll take this out, and we'll start the beef as well. And while we're doing that, we're going to now put a little bit of garlic in this. It's nice and brown, and just put a little bit of garlic in. Cook that with the garlic in there for a couple of minutes, and then we should be ready to reduce it. To put some wine in and reduce. From one of my trips to Virginia with the high school band, I bought some Aleppo pepper from a salesperson down there. We throw a little bit of that in, a tiny bit of red pepper, and we'll stir that up. Red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper. And then once this gets nice and blackened, I turn the temperature back up. So now we're going to throw some, basically some hamburger meat, 91% in here. I took all the sausage, the sweet sausage out, left a little bit of oil, but drained the rest. And so now I'm going to cook the hamburger meat in there, and we are almost ready to put the wine into the mushroom, onion, and pepper mixture. This is nice and browned. It's almost burning a tiny bit, starting to stick to the bottom. That's the way I like it. Then we put our wine in. Can you get a close-up of this? We'll put a little bit of white wine in here, some Prosecco. And then that's going to flavor those and loosen up all the stuff at the bottom. And then we're going to take all that out. Oh, what a wonderful smell. Then we're going to take that out and set it aside to put into our pasta sauce at the end. Now that the beef is not quite completely stiff, we're going to start to flavor it with some oregano. Crush that up. Apply liberally. There's a little bit more. And this is my wife's part of the recipe. Her mother is Greek. She always loves putting plenty of oregano and plenty of cinnamon in. I know that might look like a lot, but when you make this much sauce, it ends up being just right. And finally, I'll add 2 bay leaves, which I'm just going to leave out on the side for now. And we'll put those in as soon as we put the assemble all the ingredients together. So we're getting our sauce ready now, and I'm letting the hamburger brown, not just cook, but actually get brown on the bottom. When I put the sauce in, that'll kind of deglaze the pan and get all that stuff off the bottom that's been burning slightly. And I like to use contadina sauce, but then I also wanted some tomatoes, more fresh tasting tomatoes, which I think is really nice with petite diced tomatoes. If you look in the pan, it's starting to stick to the bottom a little bit. That's what I wanted. I don't know why, but I think it gets a little bit of a deeper flavor if you get some of that going. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and put it right in, and that will loosen up all that stuff on the bottom and start to sizzle right away. And that loosening up is what we want. Take all that flavor off the bottom of the pan and get some of that moisture out from these nice fresh tomatoes. Then we're going to add the tomato sauce. Hopefully get all of that in there. Now that the sauce is in here, we're going to add a couple of these bay leaves for flavor. Get them to get them all wet and soak them in so they lose their flavor into the sauce. And we're also going to add all the other stuff. So now we're going to grab this and throw in the onions and peppers that we made before and mix that in. And then it'll start to smell nice. And then we let it sit and we just keep cooking it for a while. We want all those flavors to blend and mix into that tomato sauce. Our last thing, I think, until we get to taste it and see if we need to add any other flavors. We could need some more salt. We might need some pepper. I don't know, usually I don't like pepper in this, but we'll see. Just gonna add the sausage back in now and get that flavor in there. Because we're using so much meat in this, it's a couple pounds of different meats. I think we need a little more sauce in there, so I'm gonna add another can of contadina sauce. This does not have the Italian spices in it though. I don't want too much of the oregano flavor to come through, and I put quite a bit on the beef before. Like that, we'll get it to simmer a little bit and get it to thicken up. I don't want to use more than a small can of tomato paste. I think it's better when it cooks for a little longer and all that flavor mixes together. Okay, so pasta's getting scarce, and we realize that, and I have this pasta maker sitting here, which needs to be on a looser setting right now, but I'm going to get this set up, and we're going to make some pasta. Okay, so this has been sitting for a little while. It looks nice. I had to add a little bit more water and let it sit. Now we're going to get it ready for, see, that looks nice. It's kind of springing back a little bit. Looks a little bit more ready. Now we're going to make pieces smaller because that way it'll take less time when we try to put it through the thing. So we'll do a quarter of that at a time. We're going to take one of these. We're not going to get it soaked in the flour. That's for after making a sheet. And we're going to try and get this through here and see. This is now set on 0. There are different settings for the pasta maker. That was our first run, was a 0. And then we're going to end up needing now and do the second one. This is, at this point, it's still kind of like I'm kneading the pieces, you know. Right here, last one. And of course, every time I'm going to end up stirring this to make sure it's not burning. Oh, that sauce. Oh, it's smelling so good. Oh, I can tell. Just starting to smell the bay leaves. I'm gonna keep going. So next, we roll this over on itself, like this. Put it in again. Make them a little smaller. I'm gonna go to 2. And I'm gonna knead a little bit more. Okay, so now we just have to decide what kind of pasta we're gonna make. We're gonna make it slightly shorter because we don't like it as long. And I think we're gonna do just a little bit of flour. Keeps it from sticking after we make it, and we can put it all in at the same time. So I think we're gonna do regular spaghetti here. Well, actually, maybe linguine would be nice. Want linguine or spaghetti, Nikki?
Linguine.
So, let's switch to this. Let's make this some linguine. Now the sauce has been sitting for at least a half hour, bubbling up, and I keep stirring it to make sure nothing sticks. Thicken it. Throw in our fresh pasta. Have some good food. Just finished putting the paste into that, and it smells wonderful. Now, before these start to get too sticky, we're going to take these and just put them right into the water and get it all boiling up. Have our pasta ready in about 5 or 6 minutes. This should be enough for, comfortably 3 people. We have 4, so we might need to make a little extra pasta. I don't know that we even have spaghetti right now, but this will work for all of us to have a little bit just to test it out. And we'll stir it up so it doesn't stick. Get it back to a boil. Should only take about 5 minutes for it to cook. It's going to be some really nice linguine, fresh pasta, and a wonderful sauce. Nice fresh pasta. So now we're going to set up a really nice looking plate of pasta with some beautiful meat sauce, sausage and Hamburg with that wonderful cinnamon, onions, and peppers. Throw this on top like this. Oh, that looks so nice. Add a little bit of fresh, a little sprig of this. And look at that, ready for a great meal.